You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it. The real world.
For thousands of years, they have existed among us.
You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere. Chances are you've seen them yourself and didn't know it.
A secret nation.
Our livelihood depends on our ability to blend in.
With a lust for power.
We should be ruling the humans. These people are our food.
They've got their claws into everything. Politics, finance, real estate.
There's a war going on out there. He makes the weapons. I use them.
Now, one will lead them to conquer mankind.
Tonight, the age of man comes to an end.
We're gonna be gods.
And one will try to stop him dead.
There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me.
Half human.
Blade's mother was attacked by a vampire while she was pregnant.
Half immortal.
We got the best of both worlds. All our strengths, none of our weaknesses.
He is their greatest fear. And our only hope.
It's open season on all vampires.
Wesley Snipes. Stephen Dorff.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No, I'm something else.
Blade.
Hey guys, this is Mario again coming at you with another movie review. Today I'm starting the first of a trilogy of reviews of comic book based movies. As you can tell from the title up there, you can see what movie it is. Now, just for the record, I saw this movie a while ago, so if certain aspects of the movie I'm rusty on, don't shoot me. That's why I have Wikipedia out in front of me. That movie, of course, is the 1998 movie Blade. Now, I only saw this movie for the first time recently, which I know, guilty, I know. No, 13 years is too late to have seen it, I know. It's when it came out. I was 9 years old when it came out, and obviously no one took me to see it in the theater. It was already a comic movie. I knew some of my friends saw it, so I heard a great deal about it, and just I never got around to seeing it. And I actually saw the sequel first. I saw it on one of the movie channels, and I liked it. Then I saw the third one on the movie channel, and you'll hear my thoughts on that in a little bit. But it was only recently that I found the movie and I watched it. Obviously, I don't have a DVD or something because I watched it through a link. And I have to say, it's a very enjoyable comic movie. And to correct something I said in my X-Men movie review, that X-Men was the one that kicked off the craze of, constant comic book movies. Because look how many comic book movies came out after that movie hit. But it was Blade that actually started showing that Marvel comic movies could work. Because there wasn't that many beforehand. Most of them were DC comic movies. And this movie came out around the same time as Batman and Robin. So it's like, oh, we get a mediocre comic book movie and then we get a good one. And the thing I like about this shows that an R-rated comic book movie can work. I know all those executives go, no, we got to make it PG-13. Watch Blade and try to tell me that an R-rated comic movie won't work and won't make money, because the movie had a budget of $45 million, which it does show in the movie. You can see that the budget went to the actual movie and not just cocaine and hookers. And it made $131 million, which that's pretty good. That's a pretty good gross. Now the movie is written by David Goyer, which he usually is kind of hit and miss, I guess you could say. Like, he definitely hit the mark with this movie. And I believe he also wrote part of the next one. Then, of course, Blade Trinity. A lot of people hate that one. Yeah, he did write two. He also wrote Crow City of Angels, which, people were 50-50 on. He came up with the original story for The Dark Knight, which I don't know if he actually wrote it or not. Then, of course, he did The Unborn, which is kind of a mediocre horror movie, but I did get some enjoyment out of it. And of course, then he's doing Ghost Rider 2, Dark Knight Rises. And, of course, now he's attached to write the new Godzilla American reboot, which I'm kind of 50-50 on, because I know he could possibly do it right, but could he make it worse than the one that Emmerich gave us? I don't know what to say. And this movie is directed by Stephen Norrington, who is more recently known nowadays for "It's not a remake, it's a reimagining of Why You Hated Me, Leave Alone I Made Blade." Yeah, that tirade. But he does a pretty good job with this movie direction-wise. And of course it stars Wesley Snipes as Blade. And it's kind of hard to picture anyone else playing Blade, because I haven't seen the TV series, but from what I understand, the guy sucks. And of course, the only role I saw that guy in was Debo's cousin, brother, whatever he is, and Next Friday. And it's kind of hard to imagine that guy as Blade. Anyway, in the movie we get a flashback that shows Blade's origins. We find out that he was born after his mother was bitten by a vampire and she died after she gave birth to him. So he's basically a hybrid. He has all the vampire strengths and none of the weaknesses except one, and that's the thirst. In present day, he raids this one club and basically kills all the vampires except one, because that one is a messenger, and we get the feeling that they've met several times. Eventually, one of the vampires ends up in a morgue at a hospital, and there, Blade tracks him down and finishes the job. But this one woman that works in the hospital, which I'm going to try and get her name, Dr. Karen Jensen, who is played by, I don't know if the N is silent, in Boucher Wright. She was the one, she was doing a post-mortem on the body when Blade showed up. And basically, she was bitten, so Blade takes her back to his lair where we meet Abraham Whistler, played by Christopherson, excuse me if I mispronounced it at first. And they basically give her this thing to help prevent her from turning. It's then we're introduced to the villains, who are basically this vampire council of elders, which they are all pure-blooded vampires. That's the one thing I like about this. It does that same kind of vibe that Harry Potter does, you know, within the wizarding community. The pure-bloods wizards usually look down on the half-bloods and muggle-born ones. It's the same thing with the vampires. The pure-blooded vampires look down on the half-bloods and the ones that were born from humans and stuff, which I think is a nice touch, especially considering that the head of this vampire council, Draginiti, is played by Uno Kier, or Kier, however you pronounce, who a lot of people probably will nowadays more recognize him from Rob Zombie's Halloween, which I actually thought he was good in that one, and of course, because of him we get that one funny blooper. You have a leopard on the wall. The leopard is endangered. See, higher, you fucking Nazi! You get that little blooper. And in the role of a vampire elder, he does a very good job. Although he's not the main villain. Our main villain is Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, which off the top of my head, I don't know anything else that I've seen that he's in, so I'm checking Wikipedia. Oh, I hate it when the pages are slow to load. World Trade Center, haven't seen it. Clone of the Dark, haven't seen it. Public Enemies, haven't seen it. Immortal, he's filming that one. He was in the new Leave It to Beaver in one episode, with Strokes. He was in an episode of Married with Children. He was in 3 episodes of Roseanne. Nope, that's the only thing I know him from, but he does a pretty good job as Deacon Frost. Although from what I've read, Deacon Frost in the comic is an old man. I think it's a cool idea that they upgrade it to him being younger. Because if it's an old man, I guess they kind of figured that in the fight with Blade it'd be kind of harder to believe. But I would have bought it either way. I mean, he's a vampire. He has super strength. Old or not, he's a vampire. He can kick ass. But it's okay. And of course, Deacon and Frost, which we find out later, there's animosity between them. Even more so in the ending when a certain plot point is revealed, which I'm not going to tell because that would be spoiling. But it really adds more to their fight at the end and makes it a little bit more personal. And the thing that I like about this is that this is the first time we really get into seeing the thirst that Blade, the pain that Blade goes through with the thirst. Excuse me, sorry for the rewarding. Because remember, I saw these films out of order, so in the second movie, I already knew that he had a problem with the thirst and the serum was keeping it at bay. Now I go back and watch this one and I see that he has a bigger problem in this movie. because it involves a serum. I'm not going to say why, because that's a kind of big plot point, but it really does set up the thirst very well and how he has to battle it constantly. And Whistler does a good job of introducing him, but even now that I watch the movies, it makes me wonder something that happens in the next movie a little bit more, because the next movie I've watched 2 of the most out of the 3 films, and I wonder how does that happen in the second movie, which I'll get to that in the next review probably, but it still makes me wonder, like, did she actually do what she was going to do? Those of you seen the movie know what I'm talking about. Now, if looking back on this movie, watching it now, there's one thing that I can point out that doesn't hold up. It's some of the CGI effects. You can really tell it's early CGI, 1998 CGI. I mean, at the time we were like, ooh, but nowadays you look at it like, that's totally CGI. And this is 98. This is the year after the Star Wars Special Editions originally came out. And when you go back and watch the original rendering of the CGI and the Special Editions, you would think the same thing. Granted, some people might say the same thing about the current CGI in them, but the older CGI looks faker. And that's basically the only problem I have with this movie. But then again, that's watching it years later for the first time. If I'd seen it back then, if I'd seen it even in 2000, I probably would have been like, damn, that's good. But I'm not going to fault the film that much for that. The acting is good. The action scenes are well choreographed, especially the ending one. Which I'm glad they went with the ending they did instead of the original ending they had with the big tidal wave of blood. Which, I'm not going to spoil how that has any significance, but they didn't use it, so it's not technically a spoiler. And the story was well written. My rating for Blade, I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's a great comic book movie. I really want to get into my collection, and I want to know, does it have a good DVD treatment? Because I've looked on Amazon and I've seen that it has like I know there's a bare bones DVD. Is there like a special edition DVD like 2 and 3 have? If not, the New Line needs to get off their posteriors and do one. Because I want to get a special edition. Then again, I think there probably is one. If not, there's at least one feature, because I know that one of the other alternate endings involved the character of Morbius the Living Vampire, which I have seen that alternate ending. Which I wonder why they didn't end up using it, and they ended up disregarding that character in the series entirely, so it makes me wonder why they even thought of using it. If they had kept that ending in, they probably should have used him in Blade Trinity at least. Actually, it probably would have been interesting to see him in Blade Trinity.